flyers for one of our other series that is just general business, not necessarily focused on women like we are today, but all of those other fun things that come with the small business ownership. So not necessarily why you went in and your passion, but the HR, the legal, all of those other things, and helping you continue to navigate those and keep up on trends. Those are hosted here in our offices, but they're also available via video recording and webinar live stream after the fact. So we'd love to have you at one of those if you haven't been already. But it is truly our pleasure. I think we're on about 9 months or so, approaching a year before too long, of partnering
I think it's been a year.
with the Iowa Center on this series in particular, which is thrilling for us because last year we had a really intentional focus of doubling down our efforts to support women-owned, minority-owned, and veteran-owned business. And this was a terrific collaborative from our standpoint to enable what you guys already had going. So thank you for that partnership. Absolutely. And I'll turn it over to you guys to get moving with the program.
I'm Claire. And I'm with the Iowa Center for Economic Success and Iowa Women's Business Center. And I want to introduce to you our brand new project manager, and that's Amy Hutchins right here. So she will be leading First Fridays from here on out. So this will be my last one, but I get a really rock star one, so I'm pretty excited about that. At the Iowa Center, if you're not familiar, we're a nonprofit. Focuses on helping businesses start, grow, and sustain. And we do that through education, we do that through free tax preparation, we do that through a microloan, through credit and lending, and we do that through an angel investing network. We offer a large variety of educational events like the partnership does. So we complement each other. There's a little flyer at your seat so you can see what's coming up in March. First Friday for April is Teresa Adams-Tomka from Kitchen Collage, another rock star, yes, for sure. Housekeeping, there's some sign-in sheets kind of floating around the middle of the table. Please sign in, and an evaluation form. We really need these for the SBA, and so if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment and filling that out and handing them in on your way out, that would be awesome. So let's get started, because I think we are going to be thrilled to hear Whitney's journey, and you're going to have some Q&A, and the room is booked after us, so we're going to have a lot of fun in a short period of time. So I'd like to introduce, and then we'll sit down and be very casually official here, and somebody let me know if this dress skirt thing is not working for me. So
I might end up standing at some point.
But. Welcome, Whitney Warne of Ivory House Photography. So let's start by you telling us about Ivory House Photography and what you do.
Oh, that's the biggest question, right? That's the so I own Ivory House Photography. I just had my 2nd year anniversary. We're located on 1300 Walnut Street. So if you know, it's the same street as Proof down there, and then I'm in like the nationwide area. So if you've gone to Horizon Line, you've been on my street, and there's no signage, so I'm like tucked away in a beautiful brick building. I love what I do. I have a really awesome team that I've built over the past 2 years that support what I do, both people that show up at the studio and support me, and people that show up here and support me. So I think team's a bigger word than just the people that you pay. Because I couldn't do what I do without all of my champions, which are in the room. So I do photography. Well, this week it's about 40 hours of my life. But usually I'm only shooting about 15 hours, and then the rest of that time is doing things like this, getting out and meeting people, doing what I can to support other people in the community. So I'm really passionate about other small business owners, male or female. Teresa's amazing, so you should definitely show up next week. Awesome. She's been supporting this community for 20 years. Yeah. So I'm at 2, so I'd like to, someday I'll be at 20.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's talk about your journey. How did you end up in Des Moines? How did you end up in photography? Because you have a great story.
So I was given I'll start with photography. I was given a point and shoot camera when I was 17 because I read a lot, and my mom said I needed to go outside. So I was given that, and it was my excuse to not have to be at family, like, sit-down dinners. So I would take my camera out and I would shoot, and my mom was like, oh, these are okay. So she told me to go to the journalism department, and I did, and then I started taking classes from in the photography department in high school. I was not an excellent photographer. I was not one of the best in the classroom by far, but that's kind of, I've never been the best in the classroom. That's not a place where I excel. But he told me, my professor or my teacher told me that I was the person who made the darkroom run. So I was the one who made sure that the chemicals were always switched. I was the one answering people's questions. So while I didn't have the same talent level that everybody else had, I was facilitating. When I went to college, I went to Iowa and I got my degree in journalism and photography. But I spent a lot of time working. I love working. I love working more than I love studying, which is counterintuitive to the fact that I have 2 degrees in photography. But during my time at Iowa, I got a job working for a retired biology professor. He had a studio out in the middle of Solon, Iowa, so literally the middle of nowhere. I would drive 15 minutes out of Iowa City every day. And I was the only person that responded when he put a call out for someone to work. And I was like, well, sure, why not? He's going to pay me to learn about photography. He was the first person that told me about different kinds of lenses. I had gone through 3.5 years at this point of photography school, and nobody had told me about focal length or what different lenses were and did. So that's really a theme of formal education in my life. Formal education is something that I paid into and bought into, but the technical support really was. I have some thoughts on that, but we don't have to go on that today. So anyway, that man really inspired me. He took me under his wing, taught me everything, and then I ended up going to grad school in Rochester, New York. So it's actually 1,000 miles away. Like, that's the number that appears when you type in Des Moines to Rochester. You hauled out there, didn't know anybody. Spent 2 years at a master's program in photography. Again, if you want to learn photography, don't go to get your master's, but I have it. And during that time, I learned a lot. My master's thesis project was actually in video, so not photography. And I got most improved. Yeah, so and even during that time, I would not say I was an incredible photographer. That was not my strength. I made really conceptually cool videos. And I've always been a stronger thinker than I have been a photographer. So when I graduated, I got a job. So there was a woman looking for a studio manager for her portrait photography studio. And I said, well, that sounds cool. And I knew I could manage. Mm-hmm. I knew I could answer the phone. And I knew that I could sell things and smile at people. So I was like, I think I can do this job, and I showed up. She didn't interview anybody else, and she, at the time, was 26. I was 24, just graduated. So she had had her business for 4 years and was struggling, was at that point that I was at 2 months ago, where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working at least 85 hours a week, and I can't do that anymore. So I came in for her and was the person that relieved her stress, and I was with her for 4 years. So I worked for somebody else and supported somebody else's business and supported somebody else's success. And she's my best friend. And I moved back here 2 years ago to start my own business. So that's how I came back to Des Moines. So that's the whole thing. That's photography.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So a question I know we will get. So I'm just going to ask it. Yeah. How did you come up with the name?
With the name. Okay. So Natalie, my best friend and former boss, the business name that she had was Natalie Siniscali Photography. So I answered the phone 5 to 6 times a day, if not more, saying, Natalie Siniscali Photography, this is Whitney speaking. And then I started shooting for her, and so I would shoot weddings for her. And people's moms would call me Natalie when I showed up and shot their wedding and spent hours of my life. I mean, when you shoot somebody's wedding, you're not just there for 10 hours on their day, you're there for 2 years of your life. So I spent 2 years with these people, and the moms called me Natalie. So it was really important to me that my business was not about me. That, and I hope that that's displayed in everything that I do. Ivory House is a space for my clients to come and be seen. I did not want my name on my products. I'm a strong enough personality as it is. I don't need, I didn't need that in my life. So the actual function of Ivory House was like a lot of thought bubbles. I wanted something that conveyed the idea that photos are your legacy. Photos are what you have. I mean, let's get morbid, when you're not here anymore. Like, that's what you leave behind, other than the memories. But I strongly associate memories to the photos I have in my life. And I was the nerd. I have scrapbooks from middle school, like photo, you know, the construction paper. Like, I have them from every single year of middle school and high school. I mean, photos are, I've always been obsessed. So I wanted something that conveyed that idea of legacy, classic. It just happened. Yeah.
So you came back here and you said, I'm going to start my own photography business. Now what? where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
Who do I call? Where's my business going to come from?
Yeah, where's my business going to come from? So you probably, most of you know that Des Moines has a ton of amazing photographers. Like, there is no lack of talent in this town. And people told me that, like, over and over.
Kind of a crowded space.
Yeah, they're like, what are you, like, really? You want to do this? Like, there are other people doing this really well. And I was like, yeah, that means that there's room for more. Because for me, if there's a market, if there are people paying good money for good work, and I am charging good money for good work, there's space for me there. So I am not somebody who focuses on competition, nor do I feel like it's worth my time or energy. I didn't shop around my prices. I looked at what I was offering and what I thought my value was, and that's how I set my price. Sometimes that seems a little naive, but it's worked for me. So yeah, I came back. At this point, my high school connections and my college connections, they didn't live here. So I came back on my 29th birthday, which was my, like, I got home the day before, maybe 2 days before, because I was here for my mom's birthday. I had my birthday dinner, which usually in Rochester was like tons of people, and it was really fun. So my birthday dinner was with my grandpa and my mom and my brother, and those were my friends. Right. So, so from there, I just started. I'm fortunate. My mom introduced me to some people, and then those introduced me to some people, and then every meeting I had, I said, who's really cool? Who should I know? Who is doing things? Who might be interested in talking to me? Ann Selzer, right there, was one of the very first people that I got to talk to in this world. And a lot of you, Andrea, was one of the first people I met at a party when I was scared. I'll tell this story. I was invited to a party, and I knew that I was only going to know the host and hostess, which is the worst people to know at a party. Because they're very busy. And I was like, oh, I have to go. Like, I just have to go. And I'm all dressed at 7 o'clock. Like, the whole thing's ready. And I didn't leave the house until 9:30 because I didn't want to go. Yeah. And I didn't want to put myself out there, and I didn't want to walk into a house where I wasn't going to know anybody. And I walked in, and Andrea's over there in the kitchen, and she's smiling at me, and she's like, oh, like, I've heard that you moved back. Like, all this stuff, and I was like, oh my God, somebody knows me, but we don't know each other. This is great. And that's Des Moines. That's the best part about Des Moines, is that then from there it was just, I can remember 3 distinct people that I met at that party that I didn't want to go to that I still talk to on a very regular basis.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and talk about that importance of networking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, networking, it's essential. I prefer to call it community building or tribe building.
There you go.
That's just my preference. People often ask me how I built my business, and I say I didn't build my business, I built my community. I think building my community means showing up for other people. I spend a lot of my personal money going and supporting my friends doing what they do best. That's very selfish on my part because I happen to invest in services and luxuries. So I can't say it's all that altruistic. I happen to know really cool people doing really cool things. Building my network, I just kept showing up. These things, I've come to tons of these things. I love them. There's always somebody interesting sitting next to you that you haven't met before. Nonprofit events, I try to show up at those. I try to photograph those as much as I can. I find that people who go to those events are usually people who are very generous of spirit, generous with their time, generous with their income, and I knew that I wanted to be around people who were generous.
Yeah, good. What would you say was a key moment Did you have a key moment where maybe it was that dinner party, but maybe it was another event or a thing that you found you did that you were like, this was key?
I have had so many of those moments. And there's a lot of people attached to those moments.
Yeah.
Someday I'll write a book or something, but it's probably just going to be a compilation of all my Facebook posts, because everybody who's walked into my door has in some way supported me. One of the big moments I can point to is, so last April, I was talking to Buzz Breton, who's in his 80s, and Buzz is a huge philanthropist in Des Moines, and he's the guy responsible for getting the Greater Des Moines Botanical Gardens up and to what we know it now. He is responsible for the Breton Arboretum, which if you haven't been, is out in Dallas Center. It's dog friendly, it's beautiful. He's a big nature buff and explorer, and he was out picking up, he's 84, and he was out picking up litter along Belle Ave because it was disgusting. And I drive to Confluence all the time, and I was like, yeah, you're right, that's gross. So he's out picking up litter, and I'm like, Buzz, like, I will come, like, I'm gonna come help you. And he was like, I've got it. And I was like, no. So I was like, if this dude can go out and pick up litter and spend 2 hours of his day doing that, I've got tons of young backs that can easily be doing this. So I put a call out. I took pictures of myself in my like sweaty workout clothes picking up litter, and I put them on Facebook, and I said, hey, I am going to offer a completely complimentary photo shoot that you can do whatever you want with. All you have to do is go out, pick up one big bag of litter, take a picture of yourself, do this hashtag so I know you did it, and then you'll be entered in the drawing. And I think something crazy like 20 people shared it, and it got on the news, and then people started calling me Litter Girl, and then I just had to like lean into it. And then I was out picking up litter every single day during this campaign. So, I mean, I'm still obsessed, but like during this time, it was like 3 weeks that I was gathering the hashtags, and I went out every day, and my back was like killing me, because if you bend over and pick up litter enough, you're like, whoa, this. So
it's a hard job.
I had to swing to like every other day, or like the small like plastic bags at some point. But that was a game changer. That was, I think people still remember that. It's going to be happening again in April, so get ready if you like to pick up litter.
That's awesome.
And what I learned from that was that that cost me no money. No money. It cost me time. It cost me nothing.
Right.
And I did something that I wanted to do anyway and was annoying me, and like I just walk up and down the street at my studio and pick up litter when I'm going to get coffee, because like there's construction and they just throw their pop cans everywhere. So I helped them with that. But yeah.
But it helped build.
It helped build my
your
community.
brand too.
So yeah, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the formal business things that you've had to learn and had to deal with, and
I do that stuff.
Bookkeeping, accounting, those kinds of things.
Yeah. So
how did you prepare for that? Did you smooth sailing? Any mistakes? Any advice?
There has been no smooth sailing, especially in finances. I'm not a money person. I collect it, and I'm just like look at the number and make sure it's cool, and then so Anne, back like probably a year and a half ago now, was basically like sat down, showed me QuickBooks, and was like, you need to do this. And I was like, like, I heard you, I did. And I was like, and I got scared, appropriately scared, and then proceeded to ignore QuickBooks for the next 9 months or so. And so I got myself into the situation where I was like, I don't know, like, the number looks fine, but then what happened here? And like, how do I pay myself, and like think about doing that regularly, and how do I take on employees if I don't know what I'm making consistently every month, and how to, like, all these things, right? Like, if you want to grow, you have to keep track of when your money's coming in and when it's going out. And I need to know when my biggest expenditure month is December. It's not October when I'm making money. It's December when I'm paying out all of that money to all those people. So knowing that, so I have hired 3 accountants, 3 bookkeepers. First one just did stuff for a little while and then didn't stop showing up, never sent me an invoice, and I was like, what kind of accountant doesn't send an invoice? Like, I just didn't get it. And I'm very much somebody that if I don't know how to do it, I will ask somebody and I will then just pay them to do it. Because I do other things. And my time's very much spent doing other things than the things that drive me crazy. Accountant number 2 was good, but it wasn't a good fit for me. And then accountant number 3, we're just starting this journey. I'm super excited. And I've never had such a high turnover in in a service, but finding somebody that you trust to keep that. I just kept seeing like, okay, well, this is still hard, and why? And like, just tell me what to do. And when I wasn't getting it wasn't even the answers I wanted. When I wasn't getting any answers, I was like, okay, I have to find a different solution. So fortunately, I have an amazing tax accountant, which those things are like they're different people. So learning that was huge. So money's, and then I switched banks at one point, which is like a whole thing, people. So if you are opening a business bank, I found out that the bank that I was with, their policies changed very specifically not to be conducive to small business owners. And what they were saying with their new policies was I was not their ideal client. And so I said, also their maternity leave policy, they didn't have one. So my personal bankers were all women and both happened to be pregnant when I was working with them. And I happened to ask about the maternity leave policy. And they were taking time off out of their own pockets, working for a bank. And I was like, I thought only crazy small business owners had to do shit stuff like that. So I switched banks to one that had a better maternity leave policy and wanted my business.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to switch.
That's right.
But that's also like when you switch mid-year for your banks, you're dealing with that for a while.
Right.
So.
Right. So would you say with your new bookkeeper, you know what you need to know, but they're handling the day-to-day?
Well, and I know more now. So I know the questions to ask. I know what wasn't getting done. I know it was really difficult for me when I went to do my taxes this year, which was like kind of everything, but specifically what could be better. Because I have a really good tax accountant that said like, right, here's a problem. And like your bookkeeper should have known that, and she wasn't doing it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I listened.
Right.
But yeah, things are.
And you don't have to do it all, but you need to know. You need to know.
You do need to know. And I didn't know how to know until I did it. So I'm not someone who's gonna watch video tutorials and learn. Right. Again, education's like, I did a lot of that, but that's not how I actually learn. So I have to learn the hard way. I very specifically have to learn the hard way.
Yeah. So. Let's talk about marketing. You talked about you would build your community, and that's been a key to marketing. But what are some specific things probably in the digital space? You're very visual.
Yeah.
So talk about what you have found to be successful in this market and maybe some things that aren't very valuable.
So I don't pay for any marketing in the traditional sense. So if I'm going to pay for print, it is very exclusively in pieces that have supported me. So the only print that I paid for is a spot in a FemCity newspaper. And I had to convince myself to do that. And really when it came down to it, not all, a very large portion of the photos that were going into that newspaper were mine. And I was like, okay, like I need to support this. These are the people that are supporting me. I'm going to put my money there. The way that I see marketing, Facebook, every single post that you see that I do is marketing. Literally everything. I just posted about Kesha yesterday because it's really important to me that I see Kesha. And that is marketing because that's part of my personal brand. That's building my tribe. The people that are in the front row of Kesha with me are the people that refer me. They're the people that say good things about me. They're the people that pay me to do what I do. So I think if we think about marketing as a flyer that you hand out, you're very greatly missing the mark. I don't. I haven't bought these. I don't even buy new ones of these anymore. Like this will probably be the last time I ever buy these. And I've had these since these are a year old. And I bought them, and I don't really hand them out because I would who thinks to bring these places? But when I was brand new, when I didn't know anybody, I had this and I showed up because when you tell someone you're a photographer, they say, "Oh, that's nice." And I was like, "No, really.
I am a photographer."
I am a photographer." But I think what I was actually saying was, I'm a business person. And you can trust me to do a good job. And my clients are professionals, like with a capital P. They work full time. They own their own businesses. So that was the kind of people that I wanted in my life. Those are the kind of people I wanted to serve because they had similar values. And I think it's really cool to work with people that value similar things to you.
Perfect, perfect. I know you have kind of you've launched something new. You've launched something new.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and tell us how you felt that needed to be launched.
Yeah, so business number 2 has officially launched. It's literally called Brand Launch. So there's, that was an exciting revelation, and that's a partnership activity. So Emily Steele, who is the president of FemCity, she and I created this thing together. And FemCity was a place that I found early last year. It's a networking community for women. And what I found about that place was Emily has curated such a positive space for women to go and be seen and be heard and find connections. So there are not many service providers in my life that I have not found that haven't been found in that group. So pretty much everything that I do on a daily basis to keep this going is facilitated by people I found in that group. So when Emily and I were having conversations about what we felt small business owners were missing, it was that piece of, okay, I have a skill, I have a strong skill, I'm really good at something, but that is not enough. It is not enough for me to be a good photographer. It actually doesn't even matter. I think that I'm pretty good at what I do, but that's like step 1, and there's 10 steps above that matter more. So when people ask me about photography, I'm like, that's the easiest thing to learn. Yeah. Go work for somebody else. That's why I tell anybody who wants to learn photography, go work for a photographer, or do it every single day and make every single mistake. But what people weren't learning was how to build a network. So FemCity provides a network, but it doesn't teach you how to build that around yourself, and it doesn't teach you how to build your community of supporters. So that's really what Brand Launch is focusing on, is really getting clear about, I believe in running a business based on your core values. So mine are pretty clearly defined: community engagement, honesty, legacy, authenticity, and just the general idea of showing up. And so anytime I make a decision that affects either my mental well-being and what I'm doing, or the bottom line, I think, are these reflecting my core values? Like, if I'm saying yes to this, are they directly impacting and associated with those? So that's the baseline for Brand Launch, really getting clear on who you are and then how to put that out in the world and attract people that are going to support that.
Excellent.
Along with brand experience, because brand experience comes from you. If you're a small business owner, your brand experience is directly a representation of who you are and what you value.
Perfect.
So we talk about all those things.
Perfect, perfect. How about mentors? You mentioned the first woman that you worked for in photography, and she's still your best friend. Would you call her a mentor?
Yeah.
And maybe talk a little bit about some other ones you've had.
Yeah. I am incredibly lucky in the arena of mentors. I don't have 2. I have closer to 20 to maybe 30. So Natalie we were mutual mentors. She's the person who knows me inside and out, so I do have that person that works in the same industry as me that I grew up with, truly grew up with. And so when we talk about mentorship, it's so interesting, because when I was working for her, I would have people walk up to me and say, "You are so lucky to work for her." And I would literally just crumble inside, because I knew that, like, my contribution to her business was huge, and she, you know, she would acknowledge that at every turn. But when it's one person's name on the door, then it's one person's name on the door, which is totally fine. But I wanted, I mean, coming back to why my business name is Ivory House, I wanted people within my business to have some visualization, to have some autonomy, to be able to be themselves and not have to be Whitney Warne. Like, oh, no. We're good with just one of those. So as far as mentors goes, I mean, my mom is number one, just like all of it. Miss Ann back there, I mean, from the very beginning. And gosh, how do I even say? Emily Steele is an incredible mentor of mine. She is younger than me, and we help each other through life. I think that when you think about mentors, you think about people who are traditionally older. I look for mentors that are driving just as hard as I am. I look for people who are just as invested in their personal success, and maybe they don't know everything, but they're willing to get there with me. Buzz Brenton is one of the most inspirational people I have ever met. He, in conversations over wine one night, said, "I'm going to Haiti, and I'm going to learn everything about Haiti, and then I'm going to figure out how to contribute." And he said, "I want to leave all my money on this earth." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And he's like, "And nobody's really solving any problems down there, and I'm going to go down and solve a problem." And I was like, I want to be able to be somebody someday that can go solve really big problems. Yeah. That would be so cool. I saw small ones, but.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about employees.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that you now are starting to add to your team. You can't do it all yourself. How early did that realization come? That
day one.
I can't do this all by myself.
I was living in my mom's house, like on the computer, like didn't even have a bed. I slept on an air mattress. Like day one, I was like, I can't do this by myself, but you have to. So I did it. I can't even say I did it by myself. That's not real. Like I did all the work by myself, but I had so much support that I didn't pay, that just showed up. Yeah. When I started paying people, it was through my network. My mom was at a dinner and talked to this guy, and this guy said, "My daughter just left college and she was going for accounting, and now she's going to be a photographer. How stupid is that?" And my mom was like, my daughter literally owns a business doing that. And so I got Megan, sent me an email the next day. So I had an email from Megan the next day saying, like, "I heard that you do this and I want to do this." And so Megan started as an intern. She just carried my bag around and watched me and continued. Like, she's going to DMAC for photography right now. And then in May, I was like, I can't be sitting at my computer at 10 o'clock at night editing photos. Like, I'm not doing anything else. And I don't like doing it at all. Although I listened to some really awesome podcasts during that time, like all of them. And so I was like, I don't know what I can pay you. I think it's like $8 an hour. And she was like, "Ooh, okay." She was gonna show up for me. And then after week one, like I trained her a little bit and then kept training her. And then by, I think it was week 3, I was like, "Okay, I can pay you $10 an hour." She had freed me up so much.
Oh my gosh.
And now she's escalated far beyond that. But it's because she's added so much value. She's given me so much time. And now she's running my Instagram stories. I don't do that. I don't run my social media. Somebody else does that. I found Rachel. She owns her own social media business. So she handles my Facebook posting, my Instagram posting. She formats all my blogs. She makes sure there's no typos because I can't spell and I don't put commas in the right place. So while I do write all my own content, because that's the most important part of everything, she goes in and like makes it SEO friendly and hashtags and stuff I would never do. So finding Rachel, that was in October And Rachel was looking to start her own business, and I said, okay, well, I can give you X, I can guarantee you X amount of hours at this amount of dollars so that you can pay your rent every month, and you know that I'm gonna, at least you have your rent covered. Like what? And she never needed that. She never needed was fully booked within 2 months. Like she had a full roster of clients. So now she's part of my team. She's awesome. She's like my second brain. And then last month, I hit another stopping point. Again, because when you add these people, they just open up your availability even more to take on more clients. And they opened up my availability to be at things like this. But when you're at things like this, you get more clients. And then you are adding, there's no more hours in the day, but there's more people you know, and there's more fun things to do. And I am constantly curious, probably to the detriment of my sleep schedule. But so I was getting to the point where literally answering my email was scary. So I was like, that's the hardest thing, at least in my mind, is having somebody answer your emails for you. Because I know personally most of the people that are emailing me. Or like the amount of Facebook messages that come, like personal Facebook messages, that inquiries start with a personal Facebook message. That's actually where most people contact me. And so my employees, every single one of them, have access to my email, my calendar, my Instagram, my Facebook. They have access to my bank. They could rob me blind. Probably not. But I trust them. Like these are the people that have like showed up and continued to show up. So Lucy, rounding that out, Lucy came on my team last month. Training somebody to answer your email is probably the hardest thing in the world, because I didn't have anything written out, right? Because I didn't have all of my pricing written out for her. And I use very specific words when I'm emailing my clients, because I have a very specific feeling that I want people to feel when they're emailing me. So the first month was really hard, because we were literally doing the same task. Like we were both sending the same email. And so I would leave that day and I'm like, I didn't do anything that she didn't do, but I'm paying her. And you just doing that investment, like investing in that person, so that now, this week, from this Tuesday to next Tuesday, I will have photographed 62 people. And because I'm running my $100 headshot campaign, I mean, it's been booked, but it's happening right now. So there are 62 people walking in and out of my studio, and somehow I'm here. And during that time, Megan has gone through every single person. She's keeping up in real time, making their previews. So that's like the next step. So they take their photos, and then I create a preview for them, and they come back in, because I believe in that investment in time in my clients, that they come back in and I help them pick out their photos, because who wants to look at photos by themselves of themselves? Like, that's terrifying, right? So that's another 20 minutes. So the headshots are 20 minutes, the viewing session's 20 minutes. And all of these things take at least 3 emails to happen. And they take Megan, who's doing all the production work. So I'm able to handle 62 clients because I have 3 people behind me.
Right. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think you're doing something special on Sunday. Why don't you tell us about that special photo shoot?
So part of my 62 people, so with $100 headshots, I did this last year. This is the crazy part. I ran this last year in February because I was broke. Like, no money in the bank. People like kind of knew who I was, but I was like, I'm not going to make it through these next couple of months, and I have to pay rent somehow. So I was like, okay, I'll do this thing. I think I did like 8 to 10 $100 headshots, and most of those women were Fem City women that had just met me, that were just starting their businesses. So those are some of my people. Like, if I look back at those people, those are like, that's my chiropractor. That's the person who applies my fake lashes every 3 weeks because I don't put on eye makeup. I'll have to go back. Oh, that's one of my very good real estate friends. Like, those are my people. And then this year, I said I was only going to do 30, and I'm doing 42. And they were sold out in a day and a half. So that's 1 year. And I could have just kept going. But headshots are kind of my target demographic, so I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot forever. But in addition to offering that lower entry point, so people could get in and get a really good headshot at a lower price point, on Sunday, I'm doing 15 headshots for Dress for Success participants. So yeah, it's awesome. So I've gathered hair and makeup stylists that are volunteering their time and efforts. Jody's here. So Jody is collaborating with me on this. I just did your headshot. What day? Wednesday? I don't even know when that was. It was forever ago. Your photos are ready. Jody's going to be with me on Sunday helping make this happen, but we're doing headshots for these 15 women. When I'm thinking about how I can give back, like there's not always a lot of money at the end of the day when I pay myself and my 3 very valuable humans, but I think that it's really, I can give back in terms of what I do for a living. So yeah, 15 women. I'm super excited. I have a high school student coming to video it. I didn't know he was in high school. I just saw his work, and I was like, this is pretty good, like awesome. And he could meet my budget, which was high school level. And he showed up, and he's like, professionally asking me all these questions. And then I was like, so what college do you go to? And he like sat back. And he was like, well, actually, I'm in high school. I'm like, even better. These are all moms coming in. Like, this is going to be perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we're doing that on Sunday, and I'm super pumped.
That's really special.
Yeah.
That's really special. Do we need to open it up?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's open it up for questions and.
Can I stand?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do that. Questions?
We couldn't have possibly covered everything.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In your networking, how did you choose where to go? And I feel like there's so many networking things that you could just run ragged, and going to the places that actually would be helpful.
So I started by identifying my ideal client. So, and that's not a simple process. Like, it's not just like a bullet point, like this is my ideal client. That happened because I worked for somebody else for 4 years and knew what I didn't want, and knew what kind of client I didn't want to serve. And getting here, I literally fell into doing headshot portrait work. That's not what I set out to do here. I thought I was going to be a wedding photographer. And I am grateful that that is not the majority of my business. So through trial and error, I was like, okay, the people I'm really loving working with are professionals. They work really hard, they're really busy, and they need to functionally have good portraits of themselves. So where do they go? They are very frequently at nonprofit events. They're out in that world. And I knew that people that go to those things, they are generous of spirit and they support their community, and that's what I seek to do. So I went and met those people. And they want to be presented professionally, which I think is my strength. I present people professionally. Also, meeting the women at FemCity, I realized that my big passion is supporting other small business owners. So anything that's small business owner, but not every networking group is for me. I've gone to quite a few that I was like, oh, I'm not. It's not that it was bad. It's that the people that were inviting me were the only people there that probably would come and use my services. So I think it is really important to be specific with your time. There are things I've said no to. I personally really enjoy events like this. I come to this a lot. I go to LEAP, which is with the Downtown Chamber. And it's also on First Fridays. I'm asking all of you to diversify your days, because on Fridays there's too many of really, really good things. FemCity is a place that I found to be really inspirational and helpful in every way. But I think it really starts with identifying your ideal client and figuring out where do they eat, where do they show up, where do they shop, who do they talk to on a regular basis, and what are their problems, and how are they looking to solve those? Because people are looking to solve their problems, and if you know that your ideal client's problem is centered around this space and they show up there to solve it, like, find them there.
Great question, though.
Okay, kind of a dual question. First, do I
how do you find a mentor? Like I'm looking, hopefully looking for a mentor, and also thinking of going back to DMAC to take the photography courses there, and not sure if I want that or
I'm actually trying to figure out how to solve that exact problem on a really large scale right now, so that'll be my next launch project. But your problem is one I hear a lot. How do you find a mentor? You reach out to somebody that's doing exactly what you want to be doing in whatever timeline you want to do it, and then you offer yourself for free. Like I will delegate. For me, if I'm going to take somebody on, they have to be a consistent part of my life. Otherwise, I can't dedicate my time to training somebody that's not going to be part of what I'm doing. So I would say find somebody who's already doing what you're doing that needs help, and offer whatever skills that you have. So if it's not currently photography and you're really good at something else, offer that, because I don't need another photographer. I need an accountant, or I need somebody to write things for me. But like Megan shows up, she doesn't photograph very often at my studio, but she photographs me all the time because I need that. And yesterday she came with me to an event where I had to be in the group photo, and she photographed my group photo. And then she just gets to stare at me while I shoot and talk to people, which I think is valuable. But I mean, just an aside, she showed me some photos that she used the studio one day, and she showed me the photos, and I swear I could have taken them. And I'm not specifically training her how to shoot, but she has watched my work for 8 months now, so she knows. So find somebody, offer yourself for free. And what was your second question? Oh, going back to school.
No, it's kind of more of a personal choice, I'm sure.
I get to say this from a very privileged place of going to photography school for a total of 6 years. And what I would tell you over and over again is to get paid to learn, and don't pay to learn in a skill that you can easily help somebody else out to learn. I don't think photography is something that you have to go to school for. I think that there are a lot of things that I should have gone to school for that you can't learn by watching. Creative Live is an amazing platform that has tons of photography tutorials that I love. When I don't actually focus on learning photography ever anymore. But when I was very much in that space, Creative Live was an amazing tool for me. And I think it could do as good of a job as any education you would pay triple to quadruple for.
Good question. Yes, very good. Other questions?
What would you say is the number one if you could pick a characteristic that would make an entrepreneur successful? In your opinion, what do you think that characteristic is?
Fortitude. I don't think that you have to be the most skilled person at what you do. I think that quality is very important. But I can point to other people who do other things in my genre way better than I do. I think that fortitude, because it would be easier to quit. Like every day it would be easy. It would be easier and more profitable for me, probably not in the long run, but in the short run, to go get a job. And that's not always, I mean, it's great now. Like 2 years in, like it's fine. But 1 year in, it was not fine. And I had to decide, I stopped going, for a year and a half, I didn't buy alcohol in bars. The idea of paying $10 for a cocktail was ludicrous. It still is. I don't do that. So you make decisions, and you have to decide that your business is important enough to keep doing it, because there will be a lot of other things that seem shinier. Because once you've been doing your business for a while, it's not all that shiny, and it's not cute.
How about work and personal life balance? You might have an issue in that area, but you're 2 years in.
Yeah.
So maybe just share how you do, decompress a little bit. I think
I'm a terrible example of this, guys.
Well, you have a little friend that
I have a little
comes
friend.
with you.
His name's Winston. He's four-legged and so cute. So he comes to work with me. That's one of the things I get to do because I own my own business. I have found that it's really important for me to have at least 1 or 2 hours a day before anybody starts texting or calling me to myself. I'm still working during that time, so my writing time is from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. And before that, I've gone to the gym and had breakfast. So carving out that, I thought I was gonna sleep in, guys. I thought that I could live my like college lifestyle of rolling out of bed at like 8 or 9. Every single, like I swear every single 6 months, it's gotten at least a half hour earlier. My first year, I was getting up around 8. And I was like, yeah, this is great. And then it was 7, and then it was 6:30, and now it's like 5, and then sometimes the anxiety wakes me up at 4, and I'm like, this is not cool. But I'm up, so let's work. I can't tell you anything about work-life balance. My work is my life. It is completely integrated. My friends are my clients. My clients become friends. When I have coffee with somebody, it's very frequently with somebody that I truly adore, who has also paid me for my time. How do I decompress? I get a lot of massages, like every week. But I also, that's still a little stressful because the person wants to talk to me about what I do for a living. And I'm like, I have told my people that I won't talk during my massages. So if they want to talk to me, here's my coffee calendar. Yeah. Oh, I got a scheduling app.
Oh.
I got a scheduling app. So it's called Acuity. They don't pay me, but they should at this point. And I literally started this scheduling app because I had no way to communicate to Lucy my boundaries. Lucy's my project manager, because I had no boundaries. So the second she came into my life, I was like, oh my God, I am not doing this right. So we put together, like, I have coffee on Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 9 to 11 and 8 to 11. I have lunch on Fridays, and I have happy hours on Wednesdays. And that's when I do it. And if you want to meet for one of those things, you can go online. And if it's 1 month out, then you book 1 month out. So that ensures that I'm spending, I think that roughs out to be like 7.5, 8 hours of time with people who want to meet and talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. And then I segmented my shooting time. So now I shoot on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday afternoons from 11 to 5. In the summer, my 5 to 9 will open up, and this body will be sweating in the outdoors with 18-year-old seniors. Maybe not that many, maybe like 10, but it'll be doing that, so.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You have more of a balance than you give yourself credit
yes.
for.
I've been going home around 7 o'clock every night, so that seems really cool to me.
And do you turn your phone off at night?
I try no.
I was hoping you'd say yes.
No.
I put it
no,
away.
I am not an ideal person to talk about work-life balance.
But you're only 2 years in.
I'm only 2, but that
Sally, you might tell us a little something different after you're being a veteran.
But my friends are one of my best friends here is also my business partner. So when she's texting me at 9:30 at night and we're talking about an idea, like if I call her to talk about what I ate that day, we're also going to talk about what Brand Launch is doing tomorrow. So that's one of the hardest things. It's also that's the hardest thing about being a business owner, is that people always want to talk to you about your business. And I'm like, can we talk about like Doritos? I don't even eat Doritos at all, but
just
something else.
Yeah.
But it's cool either way. So.
Well, I told you she was delightful and lovely and a rock star, and we so appreciate your time and your support.
Oh, absolutely.
And way to come back to the community and be an awesome community builder.
Only place
thank
I would
you.
have come. Thank
you. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. And we hope to see you at a partnership event or an Iowa Center event sometime soon. Thank you.